Hello, welcome to Algorithms. My name is Saurabh, and today we are going to discuss about Docker container security best practices. In my last presentation, I spoke about security risk areas, and so it makes sense to talk about best practices in this one. So let's get started. Limiting system calls. We know that Docker allows 300 plus system calls on containers. So now you need to implement a mechanism to block calls which are system calls which are not required, and based upon your needs you need to review those 300 plus system calls and which one you need to keep open and which one you need to block based upon the industry vertical you are in, based upon your application, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I guess there are several tools available to do that, and we will discuss about those tools in the next presentation. Limiting resources, so the ability to run as many containers as needed gives you a lot of flexibility in production, but at the same time it creates a major risk in the event containers are compromised. So you have to ensure that you monitor container activity and limit use of resources. So design errors, software bugs, malware attacks can lead to a big risk to your organization. So you can handle the large attack surface by limiting the number of system resources allotted for each container. And when I say limiting, what I'm saying is just enough, not more than required. So in certain cases you need to acquire or get the resources at runtime, so that you have to analyze, and based on that you have to make sure that enough resources are allocated to make sure that your system is not vulnerable at the runtime and in the development phase as well. Granular access management, it's pretty clear, means you just use role-based access management, and you can also use Active Directory to let your operator containers with the minimum privileges. So what you can do is, means here comes the identity services, identity integration, and I spoke in my previous presentations as well that identity is one of the core element when we talk about zero trust architecture and cybersecurity. So you can use identities to manage your container environment from a granular access management perspective. Managing sensitive data with with the Docker secrets. I spoke about Docker secrets as well. Means it contains if secret contains sensitive information, so in order to ensure that sensitive information is secure, you just deploy secrets Docker containers during runtime through the orchestration platform. You can use if you are using Kubernetes or Docker Swarm, uh, or you are using some other platform, then you have to figure out how they are deploying security at the runtime, and you have to make sure you are using and managing it properly. Docker image authenticity. So now the reason I included this point, because you have to trust the source. So container images serve you as a foundation for multiple systems, and any vulnerable image can cause a lot of damage to your enterprise and to your application, right? So you have to ensure that images are protected by scanning open source and third party vendor containers. Nowadays a lot of third party containers are being used in applications, so you have to make sure that you have a dynamic vulnerability scanning tools within your environment, so that you scan those Docker containers at the runtime and call out any vulnerability, and keep your system simple and update your security measures regularly. Docker runtime security. Make sure you know the composition of your containers during runtime as well as build time. And the main way to make changes to container is by editing container image and then deploying a new container. So creating a runtime security policy can help define appropriate response actions during runtime. I discussed about this specific feature in my previous presentations where I spoke about when I was talking about DevOps and I was talking about policy management, how you can manage policies and enforce those policies at the runtime as gates. So this is again another example or a real-time example of a policy where you need to implement. If any vulnerability is called out, then you need to make sure that those things are remediated before it goes in the production. So I guess yeah, container lifecycle management and monitoring container activity, these are two important points. So there are many tools that can help you monitor and manage as well analyze every aspect of your container infrastructure. Those tools help you scan vulnerabilities during the delivery cycle. You can prevent deployment of contaminated clusters. So you need to have a good visibility of complete life cycle of containers in your environment, especially when it moves from one stage to another stage. uh, and from the monitoring perspective, there are different tools like Datadog, Scout. So you can use those tools. If you are in cloud environment, you can use cloud native tools as well. Azure Security Center helps you monitor your uh, container containers activity. So and then there are other analytical tools as well, which I call cyber analytics, which helps you with the cyber analytics. You can deploy those tools and access that information about security and vulnerabilities in the real time, and then mitigate those areas before your application or those container moves to production environment. So periodically review log data generated by these container and use it to generate preventive security insights. As I said, preventive, it is more of a adaptive approach where you want to prevent those security challenges rather than react whenever you encounter any challenge. So I feel adaptive approach is better than the reactive approach, but at the same time it requires more efforts, more tools in order to consolidate the data, analyze the data, and then take actions based upon what you find out in terms of vulnerability or the weakness or deficiencies in the system or process. I guess this is it from my side. If you have any questions, please drop us an email. If you have got any comment, please drop in the comment box, like the videos, and let others know as well by sharing these videos so they also learn and make sure their Docker environment is secure, their enterprise is secure as well. Thank you very much. Have a great day.